Brought to you by the Pirate Podcast, Jonathan Riches of Your Content, and the Florida Populist.
I'm a Tarpon Springs resident and business owner. I own a little business in downtown Tarpon called Cigar City Humidors. And in difference to Jeff here, I think you guys are doing a great job. In fact, I called the city yesterday because I'm trying to figure out how I would get involved in the business protection plan, or the business protection program that y'all offer. I've spent a lot of money building my cigar humidor business. I have some interest in my business down in the Sponge Docks area, and I'd like you to protect my business just in the same way that you're protecting these restaurants. I don't want you to allow any competitors to come in after I've spent my time and money building this business. So I called the city, Mr. Mayor, I looked for a form. I couldn't find how I apply for this business protection program that I would love my business to be included in. So maybe after the meeting, I was hoping Mr. Tarpon would be here. I don't know if he would just come, if he just stops by to see me, if I make an appointment with him, stop by to see him. But I'd be interested in that program for my business. I'd assume you wouldn't discriminate against my business, because if it is a program where you offer business protection, I would love that, man. That would be great for my business. Great for my investment. I think it'd be good for the city, because yet another business that gets protected by our commission from unfair competition. All these people want to come from outside and take my business, but you guys have the ability to protect me from competition, which is awesome. So if you can have someone follow up with me, I would be happy to. If you want to have Mr. Tarpon or somebody just stop by, I don't know how this works, but I tell you, I am totally receptive if you make me an offer that I cannot refuse. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, good evening. Jonathan Riches. I'm here representing Born to Ride 45. I love President Trump. I hope he runs again. I attend a lot of meetings around the state, and particularly school boards. What's very refreshing here is you guys don't have masks, so I'll give you guys kudos for that. Because I don't believe in masks. I believe they're unconstitutional. So it's great that you're not mandating masks in here. Back to blue all the way. We love law enforcement. I go up in Tarpon Springs on 19 all the time and wave American flags. I guess you guys seen us before, a big group. We're patriots. We love our community. We love our police, our first responders, our law enforcement, our firefighters, our military. I do think, though, I'm hearing a lot about the food truck. The food truck, I guess, called food truck scandal that's going on here. I'm here in support of food truck vendors. I don't think it's right to discriminate against food trucks and telling them they can't do business in certain spots in Tarpon Springs. I feel by saying that they only can be up by 19 instead of the Sponge Docks, that's sort of like segregation. It's discrimination. I think you guys should cease that activity because, as you know, the Durhams are suing the city of Tarpon Springs. As a Tarpon Springs taxpayer, we have to foot you guys' bill because you guys are discriminating against, food trucks. And if more and more people sue you people, then the taxpayers, the taxpayers have to foot that bill. You guys don't have to foot the bill personally because it's not in your individual capacities, it's your official capacities. So the taxpayers foot the bill. A lot of people, a lot of buzz over social media. People are mad, residents are mad, vendors are mad that they can't do business throughout Tarpon Springs. They should be able to be at the Sponge Docks. As me, as an individual, I like variety of choices of food. I just don't want Greek food or, because, this Greek food's good, but sometimes I want a hamburger and fries and a milkshake, and these food trucks that are, regulated and they have their inspection and whatnot, provide that. It'd be good for the community. Revenue driving, You don't want to be sued. You don't want people to hate you guys, because, you know, a lot of these vendors are getting mad. And there's like, oh, there's a lot of corruption going on in Tarpon Springs. I don't know that, but I know if people are claiming that, they're going to file reports with the FBI and everything, and then they're going to have you guys under investigation, and, you know, people, informants and wiretapping and stuff like that, and there's going to be scandals that, you know, proceed after that, whatever, you know, practices that people are doing. I mean, you're smiling, but you don't want to go to federal prison. I've been in federal prison. Let me tell you something. I've been in federal prison. You don't want to go to federal prison, for real, Mayor, because it's a bad place, you know, and you see a lot of mayors around the country that do corruption. They go to federal prison. They do time in federal prison. You know, I'm Caucasian. I had a very difficult time in federal prison, and a lot of people do. So I'm just saying, I hope you guys are on your P's and Q's. God bless this country. You know, protect the food vendors, you know. Other than that, you know, everything's cool. You know, I like Tarpon Springs. One of the things I enjoy doing is hanging out at Walmart on 19. You know, we're out in front of Walmart, and when police arrest the shoplifters, you know, they bring them out in handcuffs and stuff, like the perp walk, and I like to make videos and kind of like, you know, enjoy that moment, saying, do not shoplift, you know, say no to shoplifting, say no to all crime. Do I make any sense? Have a great day, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Concerned citizen, this is in regards to the code 5605, 5606 concerning the food trucks. The record that I watched of the September 2020 Tarpon Springs Commission meetings reflect that officials publicly admitted that unfair market competition exists when venues invite third-party food truck vendors onto their property because such practice circumvents the investments made by the brick-and-mortar food establishments, those privately owned establishments. So these following inquiries bar any food truck exceptions such as special events or festivals and are concerning the 5605, 5606 legislation and Tarpon Springs Code. I have my inquiries printed out to be answered by the commission afterwards or in the near future or to my address or email. How can I go about handing these out to you guys? Hard copy. Can I hand it to him?
Yeah, just,
The clerk?
the clerk is on the other side.
Okay. My inquiries are, other than the hypothetical economic damages potentially incurred by privately owned businesses, does the Tarpon Springs Commission have any documentation on record describing how the public or government can suffer injury, loss, or harm to their lives, liberties, or properties if said establishments invite licensed, insured, and sanitary third-party food truck vendors onto their premises for business, those temporary vendors you have in 5605? Does the Tarpon Springs Commission, next inquiry, number 2, does the Tarpon Springs Commission have any documentation on record reflecting that there will be less damages to the public or government interest by prohibiting food and drink establishments from inviting third-party food truck vendors onto their premises for business? Third inquiry, does the Tarpon Springs Commission have any documentation on record reflecting that there will be more damages to the general public's or the government's interests by allowing food and drink establishments to invite third-party food truck vendors onto their premises for business? The fourth inquiry, does the Tarpon Springs Commission have any documentation reflecting a record of any compelling public or government interests which could be advanced by prohibiting food and drink establishments from inviting third-party food truck vendors onto their premises for business? The fifth inquiry, does the Tarpon Springs Commission have any documentation reflecting that the basis for enacting 5605 and 5606 was for any other reasons besides just protecting the economic interests of privately owned businesses who voiced their concerns to the mayor and the commission? Should the Tarpon Springs Commission remain silent on any of these requests, it could reflect an admission that they have no such documentation reflecting that 5605 and 5606 were passed solely to protect the economic interests only of private parties with no foundation in how such legislation advances any compelling public interests or legitimate government interests. Okay, me, a non-lawyer, just from on the surface, I look at Florida statutes 509.102 section 2. It states a municipality, county, or local government entity may not prohibit mobile food dispensing vehicles from operating within the entirety of the entity's jurisdictions. But Tarpon Springs Code 5605 restricts temporary food trucks to, quote, zoned HB highway business, CPD commercial plan development, which is non-residential property only, IR, that's industrial restricted, and IH, industrial heavy. So to me, that's restricting it. the Florida code says entities jurisdiction. I'd like to hear a clarification from that on how that squares. So how is it that Florida statutes prohibits Tarpon Springs municipalities from preventing the operating within the entirety of the municipality, yet legislates the restriction of only certain zones? I'd like a clarification of how this legislation of restricting 5605 temporary food trucks to certain areas to the exclusion of others squares with the term, quote, entirety of the jurisdiction in Florida statutes 509, 102.2. Thank you for your time. I'll sign in.
Born and raised in Tarpon Springs 62 years ago. I've been out of this town for 22, 24 years. I moved away. I come back now and all I see is a commission that they say is all corrupt. The city's suing the commission. Our tax dollars are going down the drain to pay for attorneys. You got food truck issues. Let me tell you what, I went to Rusty Belly's the other night. I love the place. Went there once with my wife. I had to wait 45 minutes just to get in there to eat. I went there another night with a friend, had to wait an hour and a half. I said, the heck with that. I'm not going to wait an hour and a half to get some seafood. Started to drive off, and the person says, whoa, pull in there. I'm like, what? I'm not going deep sea fishing. I said, no, pull in there. I said, what? It's a restaurant. I said, no, it says half-day deep sea fishing. They said, no, it's a restaurant. I said, we go out there, sit down by the water, have a beautiful meal. Little girl comes out, 16-year-old girl working in the kitchen. Well, you know what the kitchen was? It was a food truck. Wow, a food truck down by the docks. But they can use it because it's stationary in part to a business. It's a little bit of discrimination. Yeah, you got your brick and mortars. You know what? I'm Greek too, and I love Andes. We used to eat in Mykonos all the time. I support the Greek restaurants when I come here too, but you know what? There's a lot of places that have a lot of different things, little different ethnic food, little different culture. You got a little hole in a wall taco place down here. Man, I stopped there and ate some tacos. They were fantastic. You got to let a little bit something else in here. And another thing, everybody that's complaining about the commission and the mayor, I see you are running for mayor. Congratulations. And you, congratulations, going for commission. You know what? Instead of arguing and fighting and complaining, why don't y'all run for office and take these seats and make a change? Do something constructive instead of complaining and fighting about it all the time. I'm sick of Tarpon Springs, and I just came back. I'm glad I'm selling my unit and I'm gone. Because from what I see here, it's not a city that I really want to stay in. If this is the way the commission is and the city is and the way you're being sued every time you turn around, come on. My tax dollars are going down the drain to pay for lawsuits. And I've paid plenty of attorneys in my life, and I can guarantee you I don't like paying them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brought to you by the Pirate Podcast, Jonathan Riches of Your Content, and the Florida Populist.